You got it right here. You got
Oh my God.
Here, I have a nice chat.
First off, we have Kelly talking about Final Friday. And then we are going to be finishing up this business of development. And I think you're finding out, based on our little bell work here, it's a little harder than you think it is. So you want to be sure that you're tuned in, focused in, and then go back this weekend as we study for next Friday's test and get our essays prepped for Wednesday, that we are actually concentrating on what goes on for development. Okay, press on.
So they are the largest marine phylum. There's over 85,000 recognized species that are alive today. It is the Animalia kingdom, and the most common classes are cephalopods and gastropods. So these are just some examples: snail, squid, octopus, and snail, or slug.
Reminds us of that cool slug sex video.
And my clever device is just that Gary and Squidward are both of the same family, like same phylum, except Gary is a gastropod and Squidward is a cephalopod.
Okay, everybody tell Kelly, thank you. And the girls took the board and ran with it. And we had one zygote, right? What happens to that zygote? Go, Miranda, go.
It goes through several stages of cleavage, eventually becoming a blastocyst, consisting of a outer layer which will become a placenta, and then an inner cell mass which will become the embryo.
Wow, she rocked it. So she used the word cleavage. Did you in your head use cleavage? And what does cleavage mean? What's the process? Mitosis, right. So if you had forgotten that, be sure you're writing that one down. All right, so looking at it, we've got this blastocyst, hollow ball, and a seal. Remember the word seal means, I keep running over to that ceiling tile, talking about seals, pseudoseal, true, eucoelum, no coelum. What is seal? How do you spell it? It's right here. Blastocele, C-O-E-L.
Is it like the filling? Or like the,
Filling like a cupcake.
yeah, like the.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it.
It's on like the inside
Yeah,
of
like-
your body for like digestion, right? It has to do with digestion, but I don't know like how.
You're
to
very, very close. The two of you are good.
Cavity.
Cavity. It's the body cavity. So looking at this, you're pushing in there, and it makes this blastopore. Pore is a hole. The hole forms where the sperm penetrates. And that fate of that hole can either be your mouth or your anus, right? And so it's different for different organisms depending on their evolution and their relatedness. Yes, ma'am.
What is the definition of gastrulation?
Gastrulation, who can help her definition? Go.
Isn't it when it like bumps in?
Yeah, you take that hollow ball and you punch it. And it pushes in, and that's when you start to get these 3 layers. And then we had a word for the fact that once I've got these 3 layers formed, then within the mesoderm, I can convince those cells to become anything. Prior to that, I used to be able to convince any cell to become any organ. Totipotent, and what's that other word? Very close, does begin with P. She said polypotent. Pluripotent. So let's backtrack, Jack. Totipotent, back when you're a morula or a blastula, you can turn any gene on in any cell, right? Once you start to differentiate by, how did you gastrulize? by poking in there, and I have a video clip coming to show you it poking in. Then you start to sort of say, ooh, this is the inside, this is the outside, this is the middle side. Then you are only pluripotent. So kind of interesting. Here's what Michelle was talking about, this dorsal lip deal. That becomes important because it does reseal back off. And you get an arc enteron forms the embryonic gut. So actually the center of your stomach, the center of your intestines, the ultimate middle of you comes from this arc enteron. It's all kind of cool stuff. So yellow is endoderm, blue is ectoderm. What's this red business in here?
The secondary
You, it's going to form the, what layer? What's left? Mesoderm. Right. So watch this video deal. Each one of the little pokoramas is a cell. It's all good. So it's pretty interesting. Animal view and vegetable view just means one is the top and one is the bottom. So there's your hollow ball deal as it's forming. And look at the gastrulation. You'll see you'll see the pink start to really go in like it's poking. And see how it remains sealed. So it's kind of showing you what you're asking. So you actually, guys, asked fabulous questions. This means you're really, really thinking. And in that right-hand side, look at that. You can even see the little loopy things that they drew on the board because you've got the pink and the red. So, kind of cool. Okay, moving along. Now we've got this embryonic disc here. That's that inner cell mass that we had that is poking in there. And it's the primitive streak. Somebody asked me about that in their 321. That's going to be the whole embryo. So now we're going to kind of focus on this little deal here. You've got a yolk sac for food, and you're starting to form the chorion and the placenta, those outer more membranes that are going to hold the whole embryo together, and the placenta that's going to do the nourishment deal. Okay? She doesn't even know, really, she's pregnant. You know, sometimes your period's just a little late, right? It's not exactly 28 days, and I will ovulate on day 14. Yeah. Here we go. So the cells are moving. We saw the little polka dotties in the video, sliding along and moving. It's folding inward, and they're moving by. We had this word yesterday. Pseudopod. What is a pseudopod? Fake foot. Yeah, they're actually sliding along and moving around. And it's all done by chemical signals, chemical gradials. That gradials is gradients and signals together in one head. From adjacent cells. Backtrack, Jack. What is that called? When the cell next to it talks to the other cell. Cell signaling, it's got a certain kind. You get your ligand, first step, receptor, transduction.
lipid or protein.
Yeah. She's going great with whether it's a lipid one or a protein message. It's right next to it. It begins with P. The type of signaling, the word begins with P. The cells right next to each other. Sending message over, signal transduction pathway. We forgot PA. PAR. We are clueless. Write this down. Paracrine. Very nice. Sarah to the rescue. Paracrine signaling when cells are right next to each other. And I do believe we have a picture of it shortly. So it talks about the primitive streak, site of gastrulation. What was the name of the hole? Whether it's going to be your mouth or your anus? Blastophore. Very nice, loud. Okay, coming in, neural groove. Futural spinal cord and brain. What layer is that? What dermal layer? Ectoderm. Somites will become the muscles and bones. What dermal layer is that? Mesoderm. These are somites. To me, they just look like some dude who's ripped, you know, with a fabulous six-pack. That's what it looks like to me. That is your muscles and bones. And these pharyngeal arches will be your eustachian tubes in your face. They are the same as what forms from gills in fish. It's all kind of really neat stuff, and it's all planned out ahead of time by genes. So showing you that neural groove and the somites. Somites are what? Muscles and bones, right? And this is something Audrey sent me when she jammed her finger from volleyball, which was kind of cool. I stuck it on here because of the mesoderm connection. And you can see that the space here is quite a bit closer than it's supposed to be at that joint, so it's kind of a neat thing. Organogenesis, what does it mean? Creating organs. So now we've created those shapes with morphogenesis by just moving around the cells. And now we're actually going to differentiate even further. So this is a little overview of where you're going. And we're looking at the neural tube. That is different from notochord. Here's a place where people get confused sometimes. Neural tube. Neural sounds like brain, neurons, right? Nervous system. So that is going to be your central nervous system. Notochord, cord sounds like spinal cord, but that's not what they're talking about. Notochord is your vertebrae. So your spine, your little bones. The spinal cord goes in the center. So we don't want to get confused between neural tube and notochord. And then the somites, again, are the muscles and bones. You okay with that one? Anybody have a question? Yeah.
Wouldn't the organ evolve into like creating something that's invertebrate?
Oh yeah, it is something that's different in an invertebrate. They don't have the bones, so,
Right.
but they still have the ecto and the endo and the meso going on. All right, this should look very familiar because I have been running over to that ceiling tile 100 times, right? We've got your flatworms, your roundworms, and your true worms, segmented worms. And it's all about these 3 layers that we keep talking about. So here's your invertebrate tie-in that you were talking about. I have a true, what was the word for ceiling?
Cavity.
Cavity. You have a true body cavity if it is completely surrounded by mesoderm. See this cross section? You will see that on your paper that you're working with the clay today. And it is a little confusing to wrap your head around, but you will get it if you kind of concentrate. So far you guys are doing great. Okie dokie? Alrighty. So there's our newborn. Question? In front of you, you have a paper reviewing this. It can be confusing. It can be difficult. You want to kind of concentrate more on organizing your thoughts on content on the paper than making snakes with clay and writing your name. If you think the clay is not going to help you, then just, press on. If it is going to help talk you through it, then work on that part. What?
Ew, I don't want to touch my pen because my hand was.
I know you know. Where is your brain? Oh, that's okay. I know
The ectoderm would be like
Yeah, what's on your head? Right.
this outside one is the ectoderm, and then the middle one is the endoderm, and then what's pink is the mesoderm, and the pink is the mesoderm.
Hand it to me and go work on your question.
Wow, look at that.
What do we call the thing that's on the head, or the creation of the head? Good, you remember, a well-defined head. How are you people's over here? That looks very handy. It's in our lab. We did have this word. Primitive.
Oh, the formation of the head.
Nope, you're on different things. Primitive gut. That's literally the space inside your stomach. Primitive gut.
Oh, so it's the,
Yeah, the creation of a well-defined head. Right.
It's a little part of it, right?
Ding, that's from the brain cat. It was
Because that's the body cavity.
Yeah, so what's in your head?
I wish I took good notes.
Yes, but no.
What's this even?
Yeah, remember that now? Remember the brain cat lab? Yeah.
I'm gonna make this look pretty.
Sarah and Michelle, Ars and Toronto.
Is it permitted when all the, like.
But where would it be? Is it on the
It's right in the
diagram?
center, I think it's part C.
Is that also the,
Right in the center, it literally is your guts. So inside of your stomach. Take your best guess and bring it wrong. It's okay.
Second line down.
Seal means cavity, right? Yeah, this is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is that cross section. So make your best guess, be brave and be wrong, but you will get do better.
Beginning of specialization.
No, at first he said making my placenta.
It's the only one he's ever gonna have.
That's true, better mention that.
Which one is the third?
Wait, I'll text you Sunday.
Definitely the ectoderm.
Because I'll know Sunday after work,
Is this
because it gives me some reminder
Yeah.
to watch stuff.
This is the.
Right. What about?
And how's this just a weird
That's it.
It's a endoderm.
Where is that?
Random like a thing.
This isn't, he doesn't have it, but it's.
Wait, did you
Very,
read
it's what he's.
the one that I was harassing?
Most ones that fall under.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I did.
Is it the same in all organisms still?
Like their nervous system is like more.
I don't know.
Oh, nervous
Brain.
You had gum.
Seth means.
Wait,
this is a brain cat lab.
Sandy Hook today.
It like moves
Oh,
towards the
yeah,
top
yeah.
of your body to like.
One is looking to the top of your body.
Or Kinsey.
So.
Yeah, the kids are
Now talk, tie it all together, we have this question in the brain cat lab.
Cheated.
Sense or organs, oh, yes, really, yes, gives me a front line, I can see predators, I can find my mate, I can find my food. It's a fitness. It's all about sex, baby.
Does it look good now?
It looks great. Can you explain it?
This is the ectoderm.
What's
What's the green stuff?
Where the green part is the.
There's just no
Muscles, the bones, and this is the end.
Make your best guess, it's okay to be wrong. Wanna be wrong.
What's that?
But mesoderm is in the middle, it's not inside. It's in the middle. Look at the thing on the scene, the middle one. That yellow spot in the middle is inside. What's the word for inside?
Well, spinal cord's below the spine.
Yeah, would you relax?
Spinal
Yeah,
cord's.
that. Endo.
You don't know what it is, and I do,
So
so.
the endo is in the center. If that's what you want to pick, go from there.
Mrs. Hummer.
Make. Carry on my way. Oh, here.
The notochord cord becomes the spine. I told you they're different
Here is my spine,
Spinal cord's
my
nervous system.
vertebrae, and inside there is the spinal cord, central nervous system. All right. Okay, we've got a few minutes. Here's my recommendation. Well, you
You're gonna
really
tell
are
me
different,
something
but
wrong.
you don't even know. Here's my recommendation. We're struggling. And the reason we're struggling is because it's hard. But that's okay. So instead of me giving you answers, which is not going to help, I highly suggest that one takes this home and actually kind of works on it. And we'll talk about answers on Monday. Because this picture on the back is a cross section of the thing you just made with the clay. And so having an understanding of the layout of it and what everything does and what it is gonna help you.